Stop believing everything you saw on the History Channel because a guy in Florida built an entire castle out of stone blocks bigger than a car, completely alone, and people still swear he used magnetism instead of, a winch. And that giant snake-shaped mound in Ohio? Random YouTube guy said it's an alien landing strip. Even New Hampshire's got a mystery site people swore was built by ancient Europeans. It wasn't. Stick around because I'm exposing the dumbest ancient ruins lies Americans have believed for years. Smash subscribe before your uncle tags you in another Ancient Aliens post. 1. Some folks swear the Great Pyramid of Giza was built by aliens because ancient Egyptians supposedly couldn't handle something that heavy without help from outer space. Turns out humans just did what humans do best, and stubbornly ground through decades of brutal labor. Workers used copper chisels and poured water over sand to cut down friction. They dragged massive stone blocks up long ramps using rope and pure muscle power. No tractor beams and no alien foremen were involved anywhere. Just thousands of laborers who absolutely deserved better snacks and a much longer lunch break. 2. People love claiming the Nazca lines could only be spotted properly from space because ancient Peruvians were apparently chatting with alien tour guides. Reality check for the conspiracy crowd out there? They used a simple stake and string method to map out small sections right on the ground. Then they scaled those sections up piece by piece like a giant connect-the-dots project. No hot air balloons were needed, and definitely no spaceships either. Just patient planners with sharp measuring skills and more patience than anyone scrolling social media today could ever imagine having. 3. Stonehenge myths often claim the massive stones levitated into place through some kind of ancient magic. The real story involves clever engineering rather than sorcery of any kind. Builders used wooden sledges to drag the stones across land toward the site. For the longer stretches, they floated them along rivers on simple rafts. Teams of workers then used timber levers to tip each stone upright into its socket. No floating boulders and no wizards were ever required for any of it. Serious teamwork and a lot of rope burn got the job done instead. 4. Sacsayhuaman gets the wild claim that ancient builders melted stone using some secret plant juice formula. The truth is far less magical, but honestly more impressive when you think about it. Workers hand-pecked each massive block using harder stones until the surfaces fit together almost perfectly. This process took enormous time and insane precision from skilled stonemasons. There was no mystery liquid softening rock like butter on toast. Patient craftsmen chipped away for years until blocks locked together tighter than most modern brick walls ever could. 5. Easter Island's Moai statue supposedly walked across the island using some unexplained magical force. Archaeologists eventually got tired of the rumors and decided to test it themselves in 2012. Using ropes tied around a statue, researchers rocked it side to side in a rocking motion. The statue actually shuffled forward step by step, almost like it was dancing. Ancient islanders turned out to be really good at physics and teamwork instead. No magic chants were needed, and no aliens ever showed up to help lift anything heavy. 6. Baalbek's trilithon stones get called too heavy for humans to have ever moved without outside help. Ancient engineers apparently disagreed and moved them anyway, using clever low-tech methods. Workers placed the massive stones onto wooden sledges and rolled them across log rollers. Levers helped shift weight gradually while teams pulled steadily in coordinated bursts. It took serious muscle and serious planning, but nothing supernatural was ever required. Humans proved once again that stubborn patience beats any myth about impossible engineering. 7. Pumapunku's stones are often said to be cut with lasers by some advanced lost civilization. Researchers studying the site found tool marks that tell a much simpler story. Builders used copper chisels combined with abrasive sand to slowly shape each stone surface. This grinding process created those clean-looking edges people mistake for laser precision today. There was no futuristic technology hiding underground anywhere near the site. Skilled ancient workers relied on patience and elbow grease instead of anything resembling science fiction. 8. The Antikythera Mechanism sometimes gets treated as solid proof that time travelers visited ancient Greece. Scientists studying its gears found something far more grounded in actual history. The device's gear ratios line up precisely with known Greek astronomical calculations of that era. It tracked celestial movements using nothing but bronze gears and careful mathematical design. No time machine parts were ever hiding inside this ancient device. Brilliant Greek minds had built an early calculator centuries before anyone thought that was possible. Machu Picchu often gets credited to mysterious anti-gravity technology from some forgotten ancient source. Engineers who studied the site found a much more grounded explanation for its stability. Incan builders used terracing systems that helped distribute weight and manage water drainage effectively. Foundations were built with interlocking stones that shifted slightly during earthquakes without collapsing. There was no floating technology holding anything up above the clouds. Brilliant structural planning came from builders who understood mountains better than most engineers today. 10. Coral Castle in Florida gets the legend of one man lifting massive stones using pure magnetism. Historians who dug into the story found a far less mystical explanation waiting. The builder actually used tripod hoists and hand-cranked winches to move each stone slowly. It took enormous effort and clever leverage rather than any hidden magnetic superpowers. There was no secret energy field involved in stacking these coral blocks. One incredibly stubborn guy had tools, time, and apparently zero interest in asking for help. 11. Teotihuacan's pyramids sometimes get blamed on lost power tools from some forgotten advanced civilization. The truth involves generations of workers building gradually, using nothing but basic hand tools. Stone was shaped with harder rocks while dirt and rubble filled the massive interior cores. Construction happened in phases over many decades, rather than through some rushed, mysterious project. No hidden machinery was buried anywhere beneath the site at all. Human effort stacked one layer at a time turned this into one of the largest structures in the ancient world. 12. Göbekli Tepe often gets called too old for humans to have possibly built on their own. Archaeologists examining the site found tool marks that match known Neolithic capabilities perfectly. Workers used stone tools to carve and shape massive limestone pillars over extended periods. Communities likely gathered seasonally to work together before farming even became widespread in the region. No forgotten advanced society was secretly guiding construction from the shadows. Early humans were already organizing complex projects long before anyone gave them credit for it. 13. The Bimini Road gets dramatically nicknamed the Road to Atlantis by conspiracy-minded treasure hunters. Geologists who studied the formation found a much more grounded natural explanation instead. The structure is actually beach rock that fractured into straight-looking blocks through ordinary geological processes. Erosion and natural cracking created those oddly uniform rectangular shapes over thousands of years. No sunken city was ever hiding beneath these shallow Bahamian waters. Limestone was simply doing what limestone does when the ocean and time work on it long enough. 14. The Yonaguni Monument off Japan gets hyped as a sunken pyramid city from some lost civilization. Geologists diving the site found natural sandstone bedding planes rather than human construction. These rock layers naturally fracture along straight angular lines due to the stone's mineral composition. Currents and erosion sculpted the formation into shapes that look eerily man-made from certain angles. No ancient underwater metropolis was ever waiting to be discovered nearby. Geology simply put on a convincing show for anyone hoping to find a lost city. 15. Cahokia Mounds sometimes get credited to some vanished super race instead of the people who actually built them. Archaeologists confirmed the mounds were constructed by native Mississippian people using organized labor over generations. Workers carried soil in woven baskets and piled it up load by load to form massive earthworks. This required serious community coordination and long-term planning across an entire thriving society. No mysterious lost race was ever hiding behind this achievement. Indigenous North Americans built one of the largest cities on the continent, centuries before Europeans arrived. 16. Angkor Wat's massive stones get the myth of moving into place through some form of levitation. Historians studying construction records found a much more physical explanation for how it happened. Builders used elephants to haul stones alongside sledges pulled across specially built canal systems. Waterways were even engineered specifically to transport heavy sandstone blocks closer to the temple site. No floating stone magic was involved in any part of the process. Clever logistics combining animal power and water transport got the job done long before trucks existed. 17. Sigiriya in Sri Lanka sometimes gets credited with alien hydraulics powering its impressive ancient water gardens. Engineers studying the site found a much simpler gravity-based system doing all the work. Water flowed downhill through carefully angled channels and pressure fountains, using natural elevation changes. The design was precise enough that some fountains still function during heavy rains today. No extraterrestrial plumbing system was ever hidden beneath the rock fortress. Ancient engineers understood gravity better than most modern city planners seem to manage even now. Malta's megalithic temples get called impossible to lift without some kind of forgotten advanced technology. Archaeologists examining the site found stone balls that reveal exactly how it was done. Builders placed these carved spheres beneath massive stones to create simple rolling bearing systems. This let teams push and guide heavy blocks into position with far less brute force needed. No advanced machinery was ever hiding behind this clever solution. Early engineers had basically invented their own version of ball bearings thousands of years before anyone patented the idea. 19. The Great Serpent Mound in Ohio sometimes gets labeled as a landing marker built for visiting aliens. Archaeologists studying its layout found it aligns precisely with solstice sunrises and sunsets instead. Indigenous builders shaped the earthwork carefully to track seasonal solar movements for ceremonial purposes. This kind of astronomical alignment shows serious skill in observation and long-term planning. No runway was ever hiding inside this winding earthen shape. A culture had simply marked the sky's rhythms using dirt, patience, and a genuinely impressive eye for design. 20. The Piri-Reis map gets treated as proof that ancient cartographers somehow charted ice-free Antarctica. Historians studying the document found the coastline in question is actually distorted mapping rather than melted ice. 16th century mapmakers combined multiple sources and stretched geography to fit their available parchment space. Certain coastal curves simply resemble Antarctica by coincidence rather than accurate ancient surveying. No secret ice-free continent was ever recorded by forgotten explorers. Old-school cartography was just doing its best with limited tools and a whole lot of guesswork. 21. Great Zimbabwe often gets dismissed as too advanced for the region to have built without outside help. Historians and archaeologists confirmed the site was constructed by the local Shona people using dry stone masonry. Builders stacked cut granite blocks with such precision that no mortar was ever needed to hold walls together. This technique required serious skill passed down through generations of local craftsmen and architects. No outside civilization ever swooped in to lend a hand here. African ingenuity built one of the continent's most impressive ancient cities entirely on its own. 22. The Longyu Caves in China get labeled an impossible ancient excavation that modern tools could barely replicate today. Engineers studying the caves found chisel marks that match standard hand tool quarrying techniques of the era. Workers carved through sandstone using consistent angled strikes repeated thousands upon thousands of times. The uniform tool marks reveal organized labor rather than any mysterious lost technology at work. No advanced drilling equipment was ever hiding inside these underground chambers. Patient hand carving over generations created caves that still baffle visitors walking through them today. 23. Helike in Greece sometimes gets called the real Atlantis, buried and lost to time forever. Historians studying ancient records found a well-documented earthquake and tsunami actually sank the city. Greek writers at the time even described the disaster happening in real time as it occurred. The ground shook violently before waves swallowed the entire coastal settlement within hours. No mythical lost continent or hidden magic was ever involved in this story. A very real natural disaster wiped out a real city, and history simply wrote it all down. 24. Mystery Hill in New Hampshire gets pitched as proof that ancient Europeans crossed the Atlantic long before Columbus. Archaeologists examining the stonework found construction techniques matching colonial-era New England farming methods instead. Settlers built root cellars and stone structures using tools and styles common to that specific time period. Later visitors simply misread these ordinary colonial ruins as something far older and more mysterious. No Bronze Age explorers ever built anything on this quiet New Hampshire hillside. Colonial farmers with shovels and stubborn determination get full credit for this one. 25. Petra in Jordan sometimes gets credited to some lost civilization with construction skills nobody else possessed. Geologists and historians studying the site found the Nabateans carved directly into naturally soft sandstone cliffs. This rock type was workable enough that skilled carvers could shape elaborate facades using standard hand tools. Careful planning and generations of expertise turned a canyon wall into a stunning ancient city. No forgotten super-civilization was ever secretly finishing the job here. The Nabateans built one of history's most breathtaking cities entirely with their own two hands. So there it is, 25 legendary myths torn apart and rebuilt with cold hard facts. No aliens, no magic, no lost superpowers, just stubborn humans outsmarting impossible odds again and again. If your mind is still recovering, smash that like button and subscribe to Liebuster for more history getting roasted weekly. Drop a comment telling me which myth shocked you the most. And before you go, which ancient wonder should Liebuster expose next? Check the video on screen right now, because the busting never stops here.